live, you receive a notification. That's in the morning or evening, you receive notification, Bruno just went live, and you can watch the videos. Every time I add something to the group, like a new file or a new video or a Q&A or anything like that, resources, whatever it is, you guys get notifications. So you're always up to date with the info that you need, okay? All right, so there's a few things here. So I'm just getting this up. There's a few things here in this chapter that we went over yesterday that we're going to go either in detail today, or stuff we went in detail yesterday that we're going to briefly touch again today. You have to remember, chapter 1, 2, and 3 are the most heavily tested chapters. So this is where I need most of your attention, most of your focus. There's a few things along the way that I'll ask you to focus on, and you guys already know this, right? But these, extra, because there's, just on chapter 3 alone, there's roughly 22 questions. Just on this chapter alone. Or, you'll see next week, we're going to get into some chapters that are, that will bring you back to this one. You got it? So that's why there's 20-something questions, because it keeps on popping up in different chapters. Okay? But I'm always going to be going back and forth, so you should be okay with it. All right, so page 22. Brokers defined. What is brokerage? What does it mean? Well, brokerage, to broker something, means to mediate something. It means putting two people together. Somebody wants something, somebody wants what the other person has, so let's put them together. In our case, we're brokering the deal between a buyer and a seller. We're in between, right?
Middleman.
We are the middleman, or woman. All right. That's exactly it, in the middle. Now, in the real estate business, a broker, and when we're talking about broker, we're talking about the
Broker of record.
broker of record. Very good. So, a broker is defined as a person who is licensed to assist others in real estate transactions and to receive compensation for those services. Okay? We already know this, right? From yesterday? And a salesperson, you guys, work on behalf of and are licensed under a broker. And you're supervised by that broker and get paid only from that broker, correct? I know it's not what it says. I just went a little extra, so I remind you guys about that, okay? Next. Good morning, how are you? Thank you for joining us. All right. Years ago, in New Jersey and elsewhere, the principal, this is where you need to pay attention. The principal, also known as client, so underline principal, underline client, because every time you see principal, it means client. So years ago in New Jersey and elsewhere, the principal who employed the broker was almost always a seller, an owner who wished to sell a property. Now, the real estate broker, us, acted as a sales agent and was usually compensated with a commission if a ready, willing, and able buyer or purchaser was procured. Looking green. In this traditional real estate transaction, the seller was the client to whom specific duties were owed. And we're going to talk about those duties in a little bit. The buyer was the agent's customer, whom the agent must only treat fairly and honestly. So, before I move forward, years ago, sellers would hire us. Okay? Once we're hired, then that person becomes our client, our principal. So if the seller hires us, everybody else, so the buyers, they are customers. The customers, just like in a restaurant business or in a retail business, we just have to treat them fairly and honestly. We have to smile, we have to nod our heads, but our first duty is to whom? The seller. You got it? So if you work in the restaurant business and the client walks in, a customer walks in and says, I want to eat. All right, no problem, here's the menu. But I don't want to pay. What are you going to do?
Here's the bill.
Why? Customer's always right. No? The customer's always right, but you have to protect the interests of your client, which is your employer.
So what happens if the buyer hires you?
Aha.
Okay.
Today, however, agency relationships have become more complex than the old seller-based model. A prospective buyer, as Tiffany is asking, or a person seeking property to rent can also be a principal and hire the broker to act as a buyer's broker or buyer's agent. In this scenario now, who's our client? The buyer. Because the client and the principal is determined by who hires you. The seller now, that entity over there, is the customer. So client is whoever hires you. The customer is the other party who didn't hire you. So write this down somewhere. The client or principal is whoever hired you. You got it? Okay. Write it down somewhere. Client is whoever hired you. The customer is the other party that did not hire you. Oh, you can see from there? Yeah. It's not like too much. Okay. Cool. All right, so how do we determine who's the client or who's the customer? Whoever hires you. Simple. Now let me complicate things. I'm starting early. She's like, oh my God. Starting early. Because then we ease into the rest. Anyway, it is also possible for a licensee to function as a transaction broker, working with the buyer, with the seller, or both, without representing either one. Underline this. Without representing either one, but functioning as the manager of the transaction. In this case, no agency relationship has been created. So if you're hired by the seller, contractually hired, you represent the seller, client. If you're hired by the buyer, contractually hired, right, then the buyer is your client. If you operate as a transaction broker, and I'll explain it better as we go. If you operate as a transaction broker, you represent the transaction. You don't represent the buyer, you don't represent the seller, you represent the transaction. So you manage the transaction. Okay? Again, I'll explain all this better as it goes. The pieces of the puzzle will fall in place. Now, the creation of agency is determined not by who pays the commission, but in most cases by a contractual agreement between the broker and the buyer or the seller. So who pays the commission? Say it louder.
Seller.
Mm-hmm.
It
Well,
depends
whoever
on,
agrees
yeah,
to it.
whoever
Whoever agrees to
the
it.
contract.
You see how easy it is to fail in the exam? Don't jump to the answer. So Brian just did one thing that's very important. He answered, but because I paused, I did not say yes or no, he read it again. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he was like, oh, no, wait, whoever agrees. You have to read. You have to take your time. I guarantee you the reason why most of you, and I mentioned this yesterday, the reason why most of you fail is because you fail to read. What is the difference, just recapping from last night? What is the difference between free and fee?
R.
The letter R. Changes the whole meaning, doesn't it? It's either you pay or you don't pay, all right? By the way, I'm going to pick on all of you. I'm just saying. I can pick on him right now because he's the one that opened his mouth. But all of you have to open your mouths at one point. Okay? Just saying. Except Maris because she's sick. Okay. Where it says agency. In front of agency, I want you to write employer-employee relationship. Employer-employee relationship. Employer-employee relationship. Because an agency is created when somebody hires you. If they don't hire you, no agency. As I was just explaining earlier, right? Now, the role of a broker as the agent of his or her principal is a fiduciary relationship that falls within the requirements of the law of agency. A fiduciary relationship is one of trust and confidence. So every time you see the word fiduciary, it means somebody entrusted and confided in you their money or property. Like here, sell my house. Here's my money, find me a house. Does that make sense? They entrusted you to work for their interest, their best interest. It also requires, speaking of that, it also requires that you put the principal's interest above all others, including your own. So who's first?
The client.
The client. Fabio's right. The client first. Then you, then everybody else. You got it? So if your client is the seller, first client, then you, then the buyers. If the buyer is your client, right? They hired you. So first buyer, then you, then all the sellers that you'll see houses. You guys got it? If nobody is your client, then it's you. Then all of them, right? No, still don't think like that, okay? Always try to treat everybody fairly and honestly. All right, types of agency. So here where it says types of agency, I want you guys to highlight and then I'll explain all three of them, okay? So highlight where it says universal agent. Has the authority to represent the principal in all matters that can be delegated. And again, I'll explain in a second. He or she can enter into any contract on behalf of the principal without prior permission. Next, we have general agents. A general agent is empowered to represent a principal in a broad range of matters. The general agent may bind the principal to any contracts within the scope of his or her authority. You guys good? You're looking for that? Yeah? All right. So right here at the bottom, look. You see it? You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Great. I was going to give you a GPS location, but... All right, next. It says special agent, so I'll leave it there for you to highlight. Special agent is authorized to represent the principal in one specific capacity only. All right, cool. So we have three types of agencies that we need to learn. Universal, general, and special. A universal agent is somebody that has full powers to represent somebody else and bind them to a particular contract. So where it says universal, I want you to write full powers. At the bottom where it says universal, you're going to write full powers. For instance, any parents here? Okay. If you got kids, she just starts laughing. If you got kids, you're supposed to have full powers over your kids, right? No? What I meant was, I didn't say if they listen or not, but I meant was, you're gonna say, hey, we're gonna move across country, right? What do you think about that? Do you ask when they're little? No. You just grab your kids and go because you're doing what you think is best for them. It's in their best interest that we move somewhere else. Does that make sense? You're going to go to this school instead of that school. We do it because we think is the best for our children. Correct? Some of you will understand at one point. Anyway, so the universal agent part is not for real estate, but it could be involving real estate. Let's say, now I'm just doing something crazy, which is your friend or your family member is in a coma and they left in the medical directive, right, or living trust, that you would handle their estate or their assets while they're in that type of state, in a coma. Now, if somebody's in a coma and the medical bills are piling up, insurance is not covering anymore, but they have a house that they can sell to pay for those bills. If you are the one appointed, right, to handle their assets, what are you going to do? You're going to go to their bed and go like, hey, stand up, smile, do something, nod. Let me know if I can sell your house in order to keep you alive. Are you going to do this? No, they're in a coma. That's why they gave you full powers to do what's in their best interest. Does that make sense? So you are a universal agent because I do not need your permission to act on your behalf. I have full powers as long as it's in your best interest. Because that's what agency is. That's what fiduciary relationship is. Whatever I do is in your best interest. You got it? General agent right here. In terms of real estate, we're looking at property managers. See, a property manager does not have full powers, they have some. So I want you to write some powers. Okay? The property manager cannot sell the building without the owner's authorization. The property manager has more than one power, but not full powers. They can handle budgets, they can hire employees, they can rent, they can have property insurance, know when to contract for services, a bunch of different things. You guys got it so far? But property manager cannot sell without the seller's approval. Right? So again, some powers, not full powers. The last one, special agent. There's universal agent, general agent, special agent. Who do you guys think is a special agent? Anybody? Salesperson, you guys. You're all special. Now, not in that sense, Tiffany. Like yours, aren't you special? Say yes, don't cough. Anyway, in our own unique way, we're all special. That's what I meant. Now, special agent, why? Because you hired specifically for one single capacity only. So, as I said before, universal agent, full powers. General agent, some powers. Special agent, one power. So write down where it says special, one power only. Now, as far as one power, if you're hired by the seller, what are you hired to do? Does anybody know?
Represent the seller, so.
Say louder.
Represent the seller.
You represent the seller? For what?
Selling their property.
So we're hired to sell their property?
And contracted.
To do what? I'm trying to get to something. What are hired to do when you're hired by the seller? I know where you're trying to get at, because you're trying to get away from me tricking you. I know.
To list the property?
Say what?
To list the property, to find a buyer.
To market the property and find a buyer. A lot of my students say, "Oh, we're hired to sell." No, we're not hired to sell. So if you're hired to sell because you represent the seller, then when you represent the buyer, you're hired to buy? No, the seller sells, the buyer buys. We're in between. We broker. Isn't that how we started? Now, our job, if we represent the seller, is to market their property in order to find a ready, willing, and able buyer. If we represent the buyer, our job is to find a house that meets their specifications. Simple as that. Okay? The buyer buys, the seller sells. Next. Oh, actually, right here, just want to mention one more thing about special agent. What if the seller has 10 properties that he's trying to sell? If we hired for one specific capacity only, can we be hired for 10 properties?
You have 10 contracts, right?
Say it louder.
You have 10 contracts.
So each property has to have its own special contract, independent from the other. Because if we accomplish the sale on one, we still represent on 9. But with that particular one that was already sold, the relationship is over. Does that make sense? And then we represent on another sale. There's 8 left. We can represent the seller in more than one property, just like the buyer in more than one property. But each contract is independent. And our relationship ends as those contracts end. Good? All right. Next, have you guys ever heard of this? Power of attorney? What is a power of attorney? Well, somebody is appointed in one specific capacity as well. The difference is when you're hired as an agent to find a house or to find a buyer, you do not sign on their behalf. So your authority is not a legally binding authority. Does that make sense? But a power of attorney is me saying, Rashid, you're going to sign for me because I'm going to be on vacation. Right? So on the day of the closing, you're going to be my attorney in fact. So if you sign on my behalf, it's legally binding. What does that mean? I cannot come back from vacation and say, hey, I bought a house. Does that make sense? Because he was representing me the day of the closing. I gave him power of attorney, and he became attorney in fact. Questions here? This was a hint, by the way. If your clients ever go on vacation, before they go, you run to the airport, ask to go with them. I mean, you bring that document, and usually there's somebody at the airport that can notarize, just in case they forget. Okay? But they need to appoint somebody. You guys did not know, but there's a lot of services at the airport. Like last-minute services at the airport. One of them is notary. So if I have to get something notarized because you're running away right before the closing, right? Get there, last minute. Did you guys know that?
I didn't know that.
Crazy, right? All right, next. Any questions on power of attorney? No? If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down. Throw something at me, and I'll stop. Fiduciary responsibilities. What does the word fiduciary mean again?
Confidence.
Trust and confidence. Very good. So, fiduciary responsibilities. There's stuff that we have to do when somebody appoints us as their agent. It says we have to care, we have to obey, hold proper accounting, be loyal, and disclose everything. It says right here that these duties are easily remembered by the acronym COLD. What does that mean? It means that for you to represent somebody, you gotta have
Fair.
a cold. See, the Maris is representing somebody already. Do you want me to open the door or are you okay? I can open the door to circulate the air. Is that what you need?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. All right, just give me 1 second, whoever's watching from home. He's struggling with it. You want tea? We have tea as well.
Yeah.
For sure?
Thank you. All glasses just last long way after the cold. How long will you have to go? Oh, yeah, you got a long way to go. Yeah, the cold is, yeah, that one's
This one says tingle. For the throat might be good.
Oh.
Mango. It'll get better. Look at this surface. Would you like some sugar? Things I do for my students.
Because you feel like you can't breathe through that. Yeah, I think that's true.
Do you want sugar or no?
Yes.
Yes? Sugar is bad for your throat, buddy.
Oh, I don't have it.
But there you go. It's hot, so be careful. I'm gonna add that to your bill so you know. Now, in order to prevent having a cold, I cared so much that I gave her some tea. All right, good. So, what does it mean to care? It says right here, the care. The agent must exercise a reasonable degree of care. Reasonable degree of care. And diligence while transacting business on behalf of the principal. Who's the principal?
Fine.
Client. And who's the client? Whoever hired. I thought you were going to say the principal. And we're going to keep on going back and forth. So whoever hires you is your client or principal. Now read what it says here. It says, brokers and agents are expected by virtue of their licenses to have expertise in real estate matters greater than that possessed by the average person. As a result, they may be held liable to the principal for any loss resulting from negligence or carelessness. With that being said, I'm going to take advantage that Fabio's here in the front. I need your help. Here's a business card. Can you please tell me how long I've been doing this real estate business?
For all I know, you started yesterday.
I started yesterday, of course. But how? No, seriously, how long?
No, seriously. No, you told us 8 years yesterday. I remember that, but.
No, but specifically.
Oh, 3. At
I'm
least
sorry?
3.
At least what, 3 years?
Yeah, at least.
Why?
It says I am. I don't know. Why are you asking me? I gave you like 6 answers. You didn't say yes or no.
There's only 4 in the exam, by the way. There's only 4 answers. Pick one. All right. No, but it says right there. No, seriously.
He seriously doesn't see it.
I know. Maybe Luz can help you.
No.
Yeah, maybe. Go ahead.
Can you check it out, please? No, check it out. Just let me know how long I've been doing this.
Forever.
You know, he's all the way up front, so maybe his eyes are, Luz? No? I'm going to help you guys out. Maybe it's the suit. Can the suit tell you how much experience I have?
No. So I was trying to tell you.
I know what you're trying to tell
The
me.
business card doesn't say anything.
The business card does not say anything. But here's the thing. The moment you're licensed, what is the first thing you're going to do?
Go to a broker.
Well, for you to be licensed, you must be with a broker already. But the first thing you're going to do is start telling the world. How do we tell the world? Business cards. Because you're showing up and saying, hey, I'm a realtor. I don't know how successful you're going to be with that. You can try. I know some people that, they're a little extra. And being extra, they get the business. So it's up to you. But most people, most professionals, they give out business cards. That's one of the ways to start. Marketing is key. You need to market yourself, create a brand and all that stuff, right? But the business card does not tell you when you started. So now you're at a cafe and you're about to pay for whatever you just had, right? There's a person next to you and you're waiting in line to pay. And as one of my mentors said 15 years ago, if you're within 3 feet of somebody, what do? Say hi. And if you're afraid of saying hi, just do something else, which is very easy. Nod your head. And let them say hi. Nowadays, 2 things can happen. If you're in Jersey, somebody will run from you. If you're down south, they'll be like, hey, how are you? Isn't it true?
Mhm.
In Jersey, people, for some reason, Jersey, New York, they're afraid. If you nod the head, they're like, run. But traditionally, what you're trying to do here is create some type of conversation. Right? I'm an introvert, so it's very difficult for me to start conversations. While I'm here, it's different. I can say whatever I want. I'll jump around. I'll do crazy stuff.
Oh, come on. You cannot be an introvert.
I am. I am an introvert. But, so my tactic is very simple. Nod the head. I'm telling you. When I'm at a cafe, I'm like, I gotta talk to this person, I gotta talk to this person, I gotta talk to this person. If they nod back, that's a start. If they say hi, now we have a conversation. Because I'll be like, how's it going? And from there on, we start. Does that make sense? So the bottom line here is you start conversation with somebody, and I'm not going to teach you how sales work, but to make it simple, you build rapport, meaning you start talking about things that you guys might have in common. What do we have in common here? Real estate. What's the second thing you have in common? All of you have a name tag. I brought mine today, by the way. All of you have a name tag. So you know each other's names. So you can start talking about something you have in common. Does that make sense? From there on, how was your day? My day was amazing. I had the greatest opportunity to do what I do, so my day was amazing. Wait a minute. What do you do? Oh, I'm a realtor. So I helped somebody buy a house today. You see, conversation started without me being salesy. I just said I had an amazing day. People ask me what I do. I don't tell them what I do. You see what I'm saying? So when they ask me what I do, and then I finally tell them what I do, right? Now the person goes like, you're a realtor, huh? And you just helped somebody buy, huh? Or somebody sell. I've been meaning to sell my house. Are you a local realtor, like Newark area? I'm like, as a matter of fact, I am. It's actually my market. I don't go anywhere else. So you're an expert, you'd say. So yeah, Newark is my ground. So I want to sell. What can I do? Now, I just got my license yesterday. But I'm the expert. The bottom line is, again, you start marketing yourselves, you have no experience whatsoever, and now somebody wants to buy or somebody wants to sell. What do you know? Absolutely nothing. Just because you got your license means you're able to pass an exam, but it does not mean they know anything. You guys got it so far? Let's figure this out on the next page. Breach of duty of care. You have no experience. The duty of care requires seller's agents to, among other things, be knowledgeable about what? All aspects of the property, to arrive at a reasonably listing price, to discover and investigate material facts, to try to negotiate the highest possible sales price, meet deadlines and closing dates, and advise the seller in ways to effect the sale. In fact, the failure to be properly informed about a property's condition and value, and to effectively navigate the transaction through to closing, constitutes a breach of duty of care. What does that mean?
It means that if you don't know the market you're working in, you don't really care. So I guess he's trying to say.
You're going somewhere with that. Yes.
Let's say there's something wrong with the house and the seller doesn't tell you anything about it. It could cause problems later on.
Okay. So you're also going somewhere with that. But we're still not where we're supposed to be. You got your license yesterday. How can you know everything, like you just said, about what's right or what's wrong? Right? How can we know anything? We don't. Who's supposed to be there to guide you and supervise you? So your job is to care so much about your client, not about yourself. Care so much about your client that you ask for assistance. It might cost you, because if you're asking another realtor within the agency that has more experience than you, they might ask, hey, we'll do this 50-50. Right? I know it's your deal, but I'm going to coach you, so 50-50. A lot of agencies have mentorship programs. Some charge, some say, hey, it's between you guys. Others don't charge and create a tiered structure where your supervising agent is already getting paid to be there for support. Does that make sense? But your first job as a salesperson is to ask for help, because you know nothing. It says right here in the previous page, brokers and agents are expected by virtue of their license to have expertise in real estate matters greater than that possessed by the average person. And it's true. There's stuff you're going to learn here in the next couple of weeks that's going to put you way ahead from the average person. You guys understand what I'm saying? So that's it. You're liable now. Your job is to find somebody to help you. As far as the buyer, same thing. You're supposed to help the buyer reach their goal. How do we help the buyer reach their goal? By figuring out whatever problems that the property has, by advising on probable market value, by helping negotiate the lowest possible purchase price. I don't know if you guys noticed the difference. To the seller is the highest possible sales. To the buyer is the lowest, depending on who you represent. Right? Advise on financing options and monitor the progress of the purchase until transfer of title. Now, in every class I ask this, who has a gym membership? Gym membership. Okay, 4 people. 4 people, keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. Who actually goes to the gym? Okay, 2 hands down. Great, 50%. It's good to have expenses, isn't it? So the 2 of you, keep your hand up. You actually go to the gym. Yes? Do you have a personal trainer? Keep your hand up if you have a personal trainer. So you guys waste money. You are the for sale by owners, and everybody expecting to make mistakes. Right? So here's what happened. Why would you not use a personal trainer? Because you know what you're doing?
Yes.
Really? I knew what I was doing, but I still got injured. A seller knows what they're doing, right? How do you sell a property? You put it on Craigslist. You put it on Facebook. You put it on Zillow. But they can still get injured by unexpected events. Personal trainer is supposed to be there and guide you for the proper form, to look at you and make sure you're following your plan. Personal trainer is supposed to help you reach your goal in the most optimal way. Does that make sense? Now, you said you were tired because of what?
Practice.
Practice?
Yeah.
So that means you have a...
I mean, sports.
Mm-hmm. But that means you have a coach, maybe? Why do you need a coach? Sports is sports. What kind of sport?
Track.
What is it?
Track.
So, running.
Yeah.
Why do you need a coach? Everybody knows how to run. You see my point?
Yeah.
Why do you need a coach? Tell me.
There's special techniques.
Ooh.
Supposed to run.
Ah. But everybody knows how to run. It's simple. You put one foot forward.
It's not that simple.
Then you put... Well, you don't know how to run?
Nah, I did track, so
That's not my point.
now I get
All right? A coach, a personal trainer, a realtor is somebody that's there to hold you accountable, because you have to meet certain benchmarks, certain performance, right? So they have to hold you accountable. Make sure you reach your goal. They'll guide you from the beginning all the way to the end, whether you're the seller or the buyer. We are real estate personal trainers, real estate coaches, real estate consultants, whatever you want to call us. Our job is to grab that person by the hand, guide them to the closing. Now, do you listen every time the coach tells you to do something? That smirk says everything. All right. Will your clients listen to everything you're asking them to do? No. Just one more sprint. No. At home, what do you eat? Everything the coach tells you to do? Or the personal nutritionist, whatever you have?
everything.
Say it louder.
Not everything.
Not everything. Just stop doing it. What's the point of you having a coach doing track and then you go home and screw up your body by not following what they tell you to do? Right? Are you understanding my point? There's going to be a lot of deals that fall through. Why? Because even though you're there for them, your clients will not listen. They'll do whatever they want. You got it? Just like you guys here. I can tell you to study. Who went home and studied? That's your answer. Thanks. We'll wait until we find out the result of her exam. Anyway, there's 2 people doing the exam right now. But if you don't study, what's going to happen? Very difficult. You'll pass? Without studying. Let's talk to your sister agent or your ex-mom, ex-agent mom. There you go. See, I study everybody. In class, outside of class, I study. So let's find out. Actually, I'll let you guys know. We'll do this. I'm going to have a paper written down the day of the exam. I'm going to write down who's going to pass and who's going to fail.
Oh, don't do that. Jesus.
No, but I'll only tell you after, like a magician. I'll reveal after if my prediction was right. What do you think?
You're gonna get it wrong.
Huh?
I think you're gonna get it wrong.
I'm going to get it wrong?
Yeah, you're sure.
I'm very good at what I do. I don't know. All right. Now, I'm just messing with you guys. I'll never do that. It'll be very frustrating for both of us. On my end and your end, it'll be very frustrating. So now, right here. The agent is expected to deliver the quality of service that a normal person would expect of a reasonably prudent agent. Actions breaching this obligation might be failing to present a written offer before it expires, neglecting to mention in the purchase contract any fixtures, or personal property desired by one of the parties, neglecting property being managed for another, improperly handling escrow deposits, or failing to obtain all necessary signatures on the contract. You guys remember yesterday? My top producer always forgot signatures, didn't he? But parking lot, right? The guy is always in the parking lot. Ooh, look what it says here, right at the bottom. It says the rookie, you guys, the rookie residential agent confronted with an opportunity to list a shopping plaza should probably approach an experienced commercial broker with a request that they work together to list and sell the property. Otherwise, because you have no experience, the duty of observing an appropriate standard of care may be breached by inexperienced agent. So you're being careless or negligent to your job. You guys got this? Here I'm going to go very slow on all of these because it's that important. Next we have obedience. It says right here that the agent is obligated to obey the principal's lawful instructions. Principal's lawful instructions. You see how I have in green, lawful, right? Because if somebody tells you something that's illegal, like, hey, there's mold in the basement, don't tell anyone. Right? If there's an issue with the property, we're going to go over that in a little bit. If there's an issue with the property, it must be disclosed. No ifs or buts about it. It must be disclosed. Doesn't matter who you represent. Where it says breach of duty of obedience, the agent must obey all the client's lawful instructions, such as 24-hour notice for showing, all offers through the listing broker, or all contracts must be accompanied by a pre-approved mortgage letter. Now, I personally do not wait for the client to tell me these. I tell the client. 24-hour notice of showing, because you don't know how I left the house this morning. It was a mess. My house is literally upside down. And you're calling me now to show in half an hour? No. Tomorrow at this time, yes, if you want. Because I'll have the house ready. Does that make sense? I want people to see my house, right, for the potential that it has. Not trying to avoid stepping on something. Right? Oh, there's a kid. You know, I don't want that. I got 4, so it's difficult. You guys understand the point? The next one is all offers should go through the listing broker. Why? Say it louder. Not the records. There's something else to it.
It has to be.
Why? It doesn't have to, but why should they go through the broker and not directly to the seller? It's not only for records. It does help because then I'll put everything in order. But there's something else. I gave you my card because I'm supposed to be the expert. All offers come through me because I'll be able to analyze which one is the highest and best offer for your ultimate goal. Right? Same thing as being in the gym. You don't use all the machines because some of the machines are not good for whatever you're trying to accomplish. Does that make sense? I'm supposed to be there and say, okay, this one looks like it's good. Cash offer $100,000. This one is conventional loan, $110,000. I mean, 105. And this one is FHA loan. You guys will learn all these terms later on. FHA loan, $110,000. So cash, conventional, FHA. Which one is the best? Why? Why the cash?
It's up front.
Usually, it's a shorter period of time. So let's call it upfront. It's a shorter period of time. But it might not be the best. If my client has a low mortgage, and if they have time, then conventional will actually be the better one here. FHA usually takes too long, and it has certain kinds of approvals that we're going to talk about later. Are you guys understanding? Cash is not always king. But yes, if they're tight, they need to close tomorrow, right? Cash might be the best option because conventional loans are going to take a month, month and a half, maybe 2. FHA loans are going to take 3 to 4 months. Cash, we can close in the next 2 weeks. As long as everything's approved, like the title search and all that stuff, which we'll learn along the way, then cash might be the best option. It all depends on what my client wants or needs. Does that make sense? Yes? Great. The last one is all contracts must be accompanied by a pre-approved mortgage letter. I'm telling you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, the reason why we should put this clause is very simple. If they don't come with money, so show me proof of funds or the mortgage, pre-approved mortgage, right? Then you allow me to reject the offers right away, so we don't waste our time. You guys got it? If he comes with a pre-approved mortgage letter or with a bank statement that says they can buy it cash, we're good to go. That's the difference, and that's why I try to include these three on all my listings. You guys got it? Failing to do so constitutes a breach, right there on top, of the duty of obedience. However, some instructions must be disobeyed, such as any order to conceal a hidden defect or to practice discrimination in the sale or rental of a property. We're going to talk about discrimination tomorrow. But if somebody says, hey, I'm selling my property, you're going to help me, but I don't want anybody from the flower religion. Green people? No. You're not showing my house to any green people. Well, I cannot practice discrimination against any religion or against any color, race, as we'll talk about tomorrow, gender, age. So there's a few things that we cannot discriminate against. Now, if they're ready, willing, and able, meaning they got money, right? That's the only type of color that I see is green, right? Then I have to show the property to whoever wants to buy. So I must actually refuse to work with you. You guys got it? Accounting, we talked about this yesterday. If I gave you $10,000 cash, what must you do with the money? Say louder.
The broker has to turn it in within 5 business days.
The broker has to deposit, but I gave you the money. What must you do?
Receipt.
Give her a written receipt and give it to the broker immediately. Okay? So the agent is obligated to safeguard and account for all money or property entrusted to his or her professional care. Look what it says at the bottom of this section. An agent may not make any secret profits. What do I mean by secret profits?
They cannot make no extra money.
I cannot make any extra money?
No, you can't.
Why not?
No tips, no,
Who says?
Because
I always ask for my bonuses.
Maybe undocumented.
Can't do it.
Louder.
Undocumented.
Under the table, undocumented, you cannot get. Can you get tips? Can you make extra money? Absolutely. Yes, you can, and you should. You deserve it, right? But it has to be documented. Who gave you the money? And can it go to you directly? Can the buyer or the seller say, hey, you're such an amazing agent, here's an extra $5,000? Has to give to the broker, because who pays you? The broker of record. Not for nothing, but that might be a question in the state exam. Yes?
So if you have a tip and the broker still, when you still like you go to the agency and you like split, right? Will the broker still take the tip?
Well,
If it was like,
that depends on your negotiations with the broker. So in the beginning, you're really not in the position to negotiate much because you have no experience. But as you grow, then you can negotiate with your broker or renegotiate the contract. All bonuses, 100% to me. Why not? You got it? Everything is negotiable except, well, except taxes, except debt. Everything else is negotiable. Got it? So can we make extra profits? Yes, we just cannot make secret profits. Okay. Breach of duty of accounting. We already talked about this yesterday. Any money received for a client or debt is being held in trust must be scrupulously accounted for. Handling of earnest money deposits is set forth in the Jersey License Law, Rules and Regulations. Again, this was yesterday. And we're going to skip straight to loyalty. What does it mean to be loyal?
Place the principal's interest above.
Oh, thank you for reading.
Exactly. Right there, highlighted.
I'm still counting because your reading doesn't count. 16, 17, 18.
Huh?
20 seconds later, and you guys still don't know what it means to be loyal. Who's married? No? You don't want to answer that one, right? Who's in a relationship then? Nobody wants to answer this one?
Maybe I'm single here.
I'm just asking, but by the way they're smiling and stuff, no, they're not single. They're just embarrassed by the fact they don't know what it means to be loyal. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
That's why you finally got Facebook back.
That's it.
See? Not have Facebook. All right.
Nah, loyal just means like, I don't know, like you're loyal. What you mean?
It's a commitment, right? Wow. That was cool. Usually I ask what it means to care, but this time I skipped that one. But this one I never skipped. Anyway, you want to say something about loyalty? Okay.
Ship sailed.
Okay. So, in this case, you must be so loyal to your client that if they confide in you, you're not going to tell the other party anything that could harm the transaction. So if the seller says, hey, I'm going through a divorce, that's why I'm selling. You going to tell that to the buyer?
No.
Of course not. If the buyer says, you know what, I got $250,000 to purchase that property, but if they need more, I got it. Are you going to tell the seller, hey, seller, here's an offer from the buyer, but they have more, just in case? No, because then what is the seller going to do? Give me more, I'll counter for more. So you're going to keep certain things confidential. You're loyal to your client, to your principal. Right? Yes? Great. With that being said, the next page, it says, profiting from a client's misfortune is forbidden. Nobody knows what it means to be loyal. This world has changed. You guys good? Okay. Next we have disclosure. And by the way, the rest of this chapter is mainly about disclosure. There's just a few things that's going to be away from it, but the rest of the chapter is mainly disclosure. So, it is the agent's duty to pass on to the principal all facts or information he or she obtains that could affect the principal's business or decisions. The agent, please highlight, underline, put stars, must volunteer pertinent information whether or not the client asks. So, if it's something that could affect the transaction, you must disclose. Even if the client, you're not going to play around like, oh, maybe they didn't notice the house is sinking. Let's close. Maybe they didn't notice the massive waterfall that you have in the bathroom. We're not going to say anything. No. Like, hey, Mr. Buyer, did you notice the waterfall? It's a leak. It's not an actual waterfall, right? Some people don't, I'm joking around, but some people don't know what they're looking at. Not everybody has, obviously, the leak they will, but
No.
not everybody has the understanding. The leak, see, you have to understand, sometimes my examples are sarcastic, right? Ironic, but there's a point to this. You are the expert. You're supposed to point out, hey, there's an issue here. They traditionally do not know what they're looking at, especially first-time home buyers. As a renter, how many times, forget buyers, as a renter, how many times you rent a place and then you're laying down on your bed, you're looking at the ceiling like, how did I not see this before? Right? The ceiling is caving in or it's all crooked, right? And it's a rental. At the time of purchase, what do you know? You don't. That's why you rely on us, right? To give you this type of heads up, this type of information. Now, this includes any information that might affect the object of the agency, the true value of the property, and or possible legal consequences of contract provisions. All the way at the bottom. The law considers that any notice given to the agent has been given to the principal. The agent therefore has the duty to pass on any material information, and all written offers must be presented immediately. So if the listing agent tells you something and you don't pass it along to your buyer, well, you got notified. So even if you received it and didn't pass it along, it is deemed that the buyer knows. You got it? Pass along as much info as you can. Next. General broker salesperson relationship. We already covered this in the first two chapters. You already know, just a highlighted part, that the salesperson is responsible to the broker under whom he or she is licensed. Yes? Okay. Salesperson and broker. You already know that the broker is the one that's entitled to collect commission and represent somebody else in a real estate transaction, correct? A salesperson, on the other hand, has no authority to make contracts with or receive compensation directly from anyone other than his or her supervising broker. Repeating again, all of a salesperson's activities must be performed in the name of the supervising broker. I'm telling you, it's going to sound like a broken record over and over and over again. So don't be mad at me, okay? It's the book. Independent contractor versus employee. Does everybody know the difference?
Independent contractor pays their own taxes and maybe have to get their own health insurance. Well, they do have to get their own health insurance.
Mm-hmm. If they choose to.
If they choose to. They don't get like personal time off like company.
Nope. Well, the benefit is you can make your own time off. You're independent.
Exactly.
You want to go away for a year, take a sabbatical, go ahead. If you got the money, do it. Why not? It's very refreshing, I heard. All right, next. The employer-employee relationship allows a broker to exercise certain controls over salespeople who are employees. The broker can require an employee to adhere to regulations such as working hours, office routine, and dress standards. As an employer, the broker is required by federal government to withhold Social Security tax and income tax from wages paid to employees. But are we hired as employees? Most of the times, no. So, most real estate salespersons, sorry. I felt some eyes right on me, like, oh. Let me slow down. Most real estate salespersons, however, act as independent contractors. And independent contractors, as Tiffany was saying, assume the responsibility for paying their own income and Social Security taxes and must provide their own health insurance if such coverage is desired. Okay? In fact, brokers cannot require independent contractors to work certain hours or attend office meetings, nor can they pay them any salary. So you can work 30 minutes a day, you can work 24 hours a day, totally up to you. You can wear wherever you want, you're your own boss. Just know that whatever you want might come with consequences. Okay? Certain things have happened in the past. I had an agent that after this class, right? They became licensed. They show up one day to the office to do what we call floor duty. That means one agent is responsible for answering calls. Any leads that come through that phone call or people walking in belong to the agent that's on floor duty. She came in pajamas. Yeah. We were just starting that company back then, right? So there's not much movement. But that day, 3 people walked in. During the time that she was doing the floor duty, 3 people walked in. Not much. It was mainly over the phone because nobody goes to real estate offices anymore. Everything is online. But no, 3 people walked in. The day we had somebody wearing pajamas answering phones. Then we have to send out a memo to all the agents saying, hey, you are independent, but while at the office, make sure that you represent the high standards of the office. Crazy, right? True story. I can tell you so many stories about agents and real estate transactions and stuff. You don't even know. People have no common sense whatsoever. Thank God it was winter. Uh-huh. Exactly. So, broker's compensation. The broker's compensation is specified in the listing agreement, buyer broker agreement, management agreement, or other contract with the principal and is subject to negotiation between the parties. Compensation is often computed as a percentage of the total amount of money involved, but it could also be a flat fee or hourly rate. The commission or fee is usually considered to be earned when the broker has accomplished the work for which he or she was hired. Unless there's an agreement to the contrary. After a listing broker procures a ready, willing, and able buyer, the seller is technically liable, the right-hand side on top, for the broker's commission. Now, a ready, willing, and able buyer, is one who's prepared to buy on the seller's terms, is financially capable, and is ready to take positive steps towards the consummation of the transaction. So here's my question. When do you earn your commission?
When the closing's done?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
When the broker,
Say a lot?
when the broker pays you.
Nope. My question was, when do you earn? It wasn't, when do you collect?
Just on the contract.
Say a lot?
When you have a ready, willing, and able buyer.
When you find a ready, willing, and able buyer. When do you collect your commission? Closing. So, to make it simple, if you have a job, those of you that know what it is, if you have a job, because life is hard, I'm just saying, growing up. Sorry, don't get offended, I'm always going to mess with you. But here's the thing, if you have a job, right, do you get paid by every minute that goes by?
Should.
You should, right?
I agree.
No, you should. I worked a minute, give me my money. Another minute, give me my money. It should fall into your account as you work, right?
It's sort of how they do it, though.
I'm sorry?
That's kind of how they do it, though.
Is it? I never received by the minute. I never saw in my bank account
Every minute.
50 cents,
Right.
right? 75 cents, $1. No. It accumulates. And then when do I collect it?
By
At
the
the end
hour.
of the pay period.
No, not by the hour, at the end of the pay period. So if it's a 2-week pay, you've earned your commission for every hour that you worked. But when do you collect it? On payday. This is what I'm trying to say. Payday should have been you worked, get paid, work, get paid, work, get paid, right? But no, you work, and 2 weeks later, get paid. Here's the same thing. You worked hard to find a buyer. You've earned your commission. But when do you get paid? At closing, at transfer of title. You guys got it? Put stars next to this. Even though the fee is actually earned earlier, most contracts provide that the fee not be paid until the actual sale or transfer of title. You guys got it? Okay. Now, do all deals go through?
No.
No. And that's one of the reasons why they say, hey, you've earned it, congratulations. I'll pay you if we close. That's it, right? But you might still be entitled to commission even if the deal did not go through. As long as it's for one of these following reasons. The owner changes his or her mind and refuses to sell. Is that your fault?
No.
Okay. There are defects in the owner's title that are not corrected. Is that your fault?
No.
The owner commits fraud with respect to the transaction. Is that your fault? I hope not, right? If you guys understand what I said with the first three, let's move to the bottom. It says, in other words, a broker is generally due a commission if a sale is not finalized because of the principal's default. If your client is the one that screws up, you might be entitled to commission. You guys got it? Questions?
Yeah, where's that money coming from?
Are we going to sue? We'll sue whoever the party was, in this case the seller. Say, hey, I did my part, you're the one that screwed up. Where's my money? Now, most of the times, and I'll tell you right now, don't get hung up on that, move to the next one. There's plenty of fish out there, get another seller, get another buyer, keep on moving. I have a few agents that in the beginning, they're like, oh, deal fell through. And it was because of the seller, because the seller didn't do what they were supposed to do, so can we go after them? Like, well, you can. What are you going to waste in attorneys and probably not win, or if you win, it's minimal. It's just not worth it. So have enough deals in the pipeline that if one falls through, even if it's the seller's fault, your client's fault, you have the other ones to pick you back up. You got it? Simple as that. This is a sample independent contractor agreement you guys are going to have to sign with your broker. Now I want you to go to page 31. Ready? Cool. It says the broker is usually entitled to a fee. If he or she is the procuring cause of the sale, that means you produced a ready, willing, and able buyer, or brings about a meeting of the minds. Where several brokers disagree as to which one brought about the sale, the one with the best claim to be the procuring cause is often difficult to determine. In some cases, it could be the one who first introduced the buyer to the property. In others, it will be the one who brought the parties into agreement, as evidenced by the sales contract. If we work the same area, most likely we're going to show the same houses, right? A buyer is working with me, but tomorrow they're working with you. And you find the same house that I showed, the one that they liked. Okay? Who's entitled to commission? Me, the one that showed it first, or you, the one that put the contract together? Now, as it says here, it's often difficult to determine. And I'll tell you what the criteria is. Did I follow up with my client? Because if I didn't follow up with my client, I didn't care. And if I didn't care, Congratulations, you earned that commission, not me. Does that make sense? So one thing is you stealing my client, another thing is me neglecting my client. And that's usually where it falls. But the one that closes traditionally is the one that gets paid. Again, just remember this. The one with the best claim is difficult to determine. Now, a meeting of the minds is said to have taken place when the parties are in agreement on price, down payment, and financing method. Price, down payment, and financing method. That means we both understand the full terms of the contract, and we both agree. Our minds are in agreement. We meet in agreement. Okay? Next, we already covered this. All right. Right above disclosure of agency, and then I'm going to give you a quick break. Right above disclosure of agency, it says, a broker has the right to reject agency contracts that in his or her judgment violate the ethics or high standards of the office. And, in fact, please highlight, underline, put stars, must reject contracts that will cause the broker to violate the law. However, after a brokerage relationship has been established, the broker owes the principal the duty to exercise care, skill, and integrity in carrying out instructions. Okay? So you're supposed to reject people if they're not fit within the standards or if they're trying to violate the law. But once you accept them, now you have to do whatever they say, which might make you liable for whatever they do or say. You guys got it? So avoid at all costs doing stuff that's unethical. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you a quick break because I need your full attention from here on. This section has like 5 or 6, just the next 3 or 4 pages, has 5 or 6 questions in the state exam. So I'm going to need full attention. If you guys want, go to the bathroom, come back, make sure you get coffee or something, or tea, something that will wake you up, because I need full attention here. Whoever's home, I'm going to be right back in roughly 10 minutes.
Is that the men's bathroom?
Somebody took it, but I have another one here.